and So the morning I woke up in Bozeman, I drove until I reached Missoula. I drove around until I found a cafe with Wi-Fi. I ended up in a bagel place, and it was breakfast time, so I got a bagel. And I was trying to decide which one to get, and there was some fancy named one. It was sort of named after the bagel shop. And so I asked what that meant, and it was basically an everything bagel. And the woman who was taking care of me understood that I wasn't from around the area, or apparently would have known what this bagel was. So I explained to her, I'm from New York, I'm on this road trip, yada yada. And she said, oh, New York, I've been there once. She told me she just felt so overwhelmed. She just sat down on the curb, put her head in her hands and said, I miss my mountains. Which was essentially the inverse of how I was feeling in Montana. This giant open sky and these giant mountains. All I could think of was, I miss my buildings. When I was in Wyoming, I talked to my friend Corinne, who I was going to visit in Austin. She asked me if I could find her a tiny bison, something that she could sew onto a headband. I hadn't seen any so far, so I figured maybe, I know this isn't really bison country, but maybe I'll be able to find something. So I asked somebody in the bagel shop if there was any place that might sell this, and he told me that I should go to the Missoula Mercantile, and he sort of gave me directions there. I drove down the street, took a left, paid the meter. I went up and down the block where he said it would be, and I didn't see anything remotely resembling it. I went to this really cluttered but organized antique store. It had everything. Lots of vintage appliances. I was in my glory. It's probably a good thing I don't live in Missoula, because I would probably buy that place out. And after I was done fawning over all of the goods within, I asked somebody about the Missoula Mercantile. They described to me where it was 100 years ago, when it existed, but now it's apparently a Macy's or a Boscov's or a Bon-Ton, some sort of big department store. So, maybe I'll be able to find one in an antique store. And they told me, oh, well, there's the Missoula Antiques Mall. And they described to me where it was, and so I started walking in that direction. While I was walking, I found this amazing mailbox. A Hunter S. Thompson quote. A subpar antique shop with a few neat things in it. And no tiny bison, I asked. And finally I found the granddaddy of them all. The giant antiques mall. I found this glass jar with a butter churn in it. The price tag said $10. Like, I'm definitely getting this. I really like hand crank appliances, human-powered stuff, you know. I also found a whole bunch of really awesome antique maps and a vintage bison postcard, but no tiny bison. So I brought my butter churn and all of the maps and the postcard to the counter, and I wanted to keep looking. As I started walking, I heard the two people who were working there discuss Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. They seemed to believe that it was filled with lies and that global warming either is not important, is not real, or is not going to affect their lives, and so they should not worry about it. Where am I think? And this is funny because months later I come home and I find out that Hank Green, the founder of Eco Geek, is actually a Missoulian. I guess not everyone in that town thinks that way. I looked for any sort of tiny bison. I didn't find a single one. But I did find a hand crank meat slicer. I think it was like $50, maybe $40, and I thought, $25, $30, I'll definitely take it. And so I brought it to the counter to see if I could talk the woman down, because at antique stores, you can ask for a certain discount. And the woman told me that she couldn't because it was below a certain price. I don't know if it was $100 or $50 below that price. They cannot make any deals. So I said, okay, I'm not going to take that. And then I watched as she's writing out my receipt, and she first writes out for the butter churn $110. I'm not going to take that either, I say as I look at the price tag, and again, there was another line there that I had missed. Then I decided it was probably time to get out of Missoula before I tried to buy anything else I couldn't afford.